Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS for summer. My name is Asterix. I'm joined by Nightstar, running into our second or our penultimate match of the night. Remember, sponsored by CDBC Bank as a PCS. Thank you to Riot Games, Carry Live, and Garena for the league operation in full. As we run into this matchup, Nightstar, I feel like with J-Team DCG letting us down a little bit, being a bit one-sided towards Deep Cross Gaming, I'm hoping that Beyond Gaming and Meta Falcon team have a better feel because, Meta Falcon team in their big win versus Impunity, where Beyond Gaming are coming off the back of 2 losses in a row. Like, Beyond right now, maybe not looking as convincing as we thought against some of the other top teams like DCG, like JT.
Not sure if I should be refreshing my... Oh, okay. We're back. We're back.
My
VMix froze for a second there, so I wasn't sure if I died. But I am still here. Yes, talking about this matchup. I think both teams have a little bit to prove here. Of course, for the side of MFT, trying to get back into the upswing of things. For Beyond Gaming, they did take a stumble in the last game of the week.
Yeah.
So look for them to try and bounce back. And this is an intriguing matchup because of one of the win conditions for MFT is Taco being able to get a good matchup up topside. And one of the weak spots for BYG has been Lee Kai's laning. So while he has performed well in team fights, his laning hasn't exactly been a highlight for him.
Yeah, no, really. And I feel like for Beyond Gaming, we knew this team to be so great at like the 1-3-1, right? As we look at Meta Falcon team, we can talk about Beyond in a second. Whenever we come against this team, we look at them and we're like, well, it's about Taco, who is apparently frozen too. And it's just, he's just not moving today. And 665, right, as a jungler, an abnormally large damage percentage for this man. I feel like we know that Meta Falcon team, despite having their issues, the strong side of the map seems to be towards, jungle top. And even Hong 2 coming in has had a bit of a performance. As we look at their opponents today, it might be a little bit difficult for them, and it's going to be a big ask.
It is going to be somewhat of an ask here, as Mega Bank Beyond Gaming have, for the most part, performed very, very well. They've had that big upset against PSG, but they've also dropped the ball as well. So slight mixed bag. We'll see where the coin lands, right? For them this time around. Had a rough week last week as they played every single one of the J team squads, and they were able to pull one over CFO, but did drop against DCG and J team. So not a great week to end their first round robin, and they'll look to start off this time around a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, for Beyond Gaming, we kind of hold them in high regards. That's why, like, the loss against other top teams is astounding, because it means that Beyond Gaming feels like they're maybe not in that little bubble up in the top side. Frank Esports joining that, by the way, for Beyond, sitting dead middle at the moment. As we look towards this top side, we were talking about for Lakai, a lot of questions that need to be answered, but Taco, the same vein, the carry potential on this guy is so big. But will it be enough today? And will, 665 be able to set up this top laner who has often been a point of interest for teams to really focus down?
Yeah, and for MFT, I think a strong point in their draft is going to be just trying to find strong matchups. It's sort of the theme all across the board in the PCS, is just find strong lanes, get one of these strong early ganking junglers, don't fall into the Viego trap, and then we can kind of go from there. And we'll see how those points end up lining up in this particular draft phase.
Yeah, things like the Poppy, right? That goes to the top of the list with it being such a priority across the world. Wukong as well, as Husha has also been playing that a hell of a lot. So there's a couple of things that could gravitate towards these junglers. We're already seeing solo lane bans coming through. Azir, Corki against Hong 2. Taco, who again is so close to the screen every time. Just needs to take a seat back, or I don't know.
Out.
Yeah,
I feel like he probably has one of those, tactical shooter setups where the screen is literally 3 inches away from your screen, or from your face. But for BYG, you can clearly see that Minji just doesn't have the champ pool right now because they are directing bans towards the Azir and Corki, which are the big mainstays in the mid lane right now. And if you're double banning both of those on the red side, it does show a bit of a flaw in your champion pool, and they will go ahead and take away the Poppy on top of it. So that's probably the premier jungler taken off the table, but still, if they want to look for an early game jungler, which I don't think they'll do on this first pick, there's still the Trundle available and the Wukong.
It's so amazing to see Kalista still picked up, you know, with Renata off the board. I mean, Zeri. To my point, you know, you're willing to pick up Kalista without the Renata combination when Zeri Yumi's available. There's no Tahm Kench. There's not going to be a center of, like, yeah, I don't know. Give over Zeri. Hooch's Wukong's available here. Like, you're not going to get a Yumi here with Kalista. Nah, how many strong picks do Beyond have here? I feel like it's astounding.
Gnar is a pretty comfort pick for Lee Kai as well. Stabilizes his lane phase, and we know what he can do with this pick when it comes to team fights. PCS Gnar also incredibly powerful for MFT. Sejuani is one of those champions, of course, can hold her own in the lane, and as an engage tool, a little bit more reliable than something like the Gnar, who has to hit that perfect timing. And it should get locked in. It's just a matter of what they go ahead pair it up with. I would expect a support pick here for MFT. You can go for the melee engage supports because you have the Kalista to help bail it out, and maybe something like Nautilus becomes a little bit more necessary because you need a point and click CC for the Zeri, but instead they opt for the Rakan, which is a little bit surprising, but still holds true. Hey, you have that melee engage. If he goes in a little bit too far, you can bail him out with the Kalista ultimate. And on the flip side for BYG, you know, the early Sylas lock-in again highlights Minji just needs certain champions to succeed, even though if you look on the side of MFT, they don't have great ultimates to go ahead and steal at the moment.
Yeah, not at the moment. I mean, a lot of teams, and this is influence from LPL, I'm just seeing Sylas has become first pick worthy in a lot of different drafts. It's been first pick red side, even first pick blue side in a couple of strange drafts as well. I just feel like Beyond Gaming got 3 strong meta picks so far. And you can see more mid lane bans are coming through. You're talking a little bit about Minji's champion pool. Now that that's kind of sorted out, I feel like it's worth mentioning that Hong has been someone who's like Sylas, Azir, Veigar. And even when it was Glenn on this side, you know, like, I don't think he had the strongest champion pool either. So they're taking a lot away from the newest member of Meta Falcon team in the hope of putting him on a pretty rough matchup.
Yeah, and we'll see what Hongtu has left in store. The Yone certainly would have been a champion that could perform well into the pick. Viego gets taken away. Again, I don't think that's a great pick in the current meta. And the Wukong still left on the table. So for BYG, it should be the Wukong, And for MFT, if you're looking for a jungler that can operate well into this with this composition, I think it has to be the Xin. Has the ability to combo with the Sejuani's passive, being able to proc that permafrost pretty quickly with the auto reset, and also able to carve out a space for this Kalista to then hop forward aggressively rather than jump backwards.
Okay, I understand. I feel like with Beyond Gaming's picks, you're never going to out-skirmish. You're never going to out-teamfight. Get yourself isolated lane 6-6-5 and go for it. Hell, even bottom lane, right? I mean, Hong might be going back to the Veigar. I like this from Meta Falcon team. He's throwing everything against the wall, and with what they've given over to Beyond, like, I don't know. This is a fun draft to watch from Meta Falcon team.
Yeah, definitely a fun draft. And for a last pick, they are saving it for their support. And I'm surprised that MFT didn't go for the Mumu themselves, which is a very strong pick into the Zeri, offers a lot of CC lockdown. However, for the side of BYG, Kino is very, very comfortable on this Leona pick. Also has a very good matchup into the Rakan. So this pick makes a lot of sense, and it's really just kind of strong picks all across the board for BYG. You highlighted yourself, and for MFT, this is a composition that seems a little bit mishmash, and it's going to really boil down to the players being able to execute on their individual champions to try and outshine, sort of find these moments of hand stiff or isolation with this Nocturne ultimate to then snowball those leads to hopefully find that win.
And I feel like there's a lot to dissect here on Meta Falcon team, right? Like 665 seems like the core member. I'll also say for Hong too, has a pretty good opportunity in Vega in this game. And, you know, when people talk about Vega, they're always like, well, you know, like, oh, like DPS or like survivability counters Vega. No, range actually counters Vega. Things like Jace, things that can outrange Vega are always the way to go. You look at the Beyond Gaming draft and you look across that line and you're like, in terms of range, there really is none. Cage around him and Beyond are the ones who want to gap close. They're the ones who want to go all in. So, you know, for Meta Falcon team, their mid laner having a bit of comfortability and, you know, it's part of the scaling element that's added to this roster. I don't know. It's a fun draft, but yeah, I'm curious because Beyond Gaming getting what I would say are 4 of the strongest meta picks right now handed over to them. Meta Falcon team better have a bit of a response here, and I'm looking at 665. I'm looking at that mid lane Vega to see if Meta Falcon team can get a bit of an upset and keep Beyond Gaming from moving back up with the other 4 big boys of the league.
MFT, they could definitely gatekeep BYG here and make a strong statement themselves if they find this upset. Would move them to 4 wins and close the gap between them and BYG. As start, it's going to be a 5-point start here, which I would say favors the side of BYG. They don't really want any shenanigans. And for the side of MFT, like, you want to try and hide the Nocturne pathing as much as possible. That's the key point for their start. They want to make sure this Nocturne gets to level 6 as speedily as possible, gets himself a crab. 2 would be great, but a crab is necessary. Okay.
They do want it. Okay, Minji's not caught out. Shield of Daybreak is the start. Minji with the start of that lane, that's just not good.
That's actually really, really nice trade. Getting that HP burn onto Minji is rocking the Dorn's ring. So more of the durability rather than just go full on sustain. So thankfully he's up against the Veigar, which isn't known to be lane dominant, but the range could play a factor now. Hong2 could look to just weave in as many autos and walk more or posture more aggressively because of that missing HP.
I mean, the HP, you're right, it is actually quite massive. I feel like Hong2 is going to have a pretty good lane here, and we'll have to watch out. Minji started Abscond Abduct, but Hong2 already just adding little layers to this DPS as he starts Q. We can talk a little bit about junglers again. You said for 665 rushing towards 6, which of course makes sense. Husha in the early game has a bit of setup within these lanes. I feel like bot mid are the ones to look at, but still again, you know, labeled how it's going to be hard to gap close this Veigar, especially if Cage is used correctly and literally lay it on top with a Wukong Siles, put it on top of you, you're fine.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Husha to aggressively attack these lanes early on. We've labeled mid-bot as really the highlight lanes to try and snowball around. However, in this mid lane, Hong2, his positioning, okay, this is a possible gank attempt.
This will show us, right? Hong2, Cage, okay, stunned up, flashes, and if it's quick enough, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, really good gank setup coming into this mid lane. That's a nice flash burn. It helps equalize the sustain difference, right? As Minji, he actually hasn't even popped a single one of his potions. Might be far.
Takes a turret shot, but still kites away from the W out of Hong. Oh my god. missing quite everything. I mean, really good kiting from Minji there. A little fancy footwork to get the better trade.
Yeah, now look. 665, he gets to help share some of that EXP in this mid lane, top lane fight.
It's okay for now. Just tanks battling it out. Even though Sejuani, a lot of the time, people get surprised winning the matchup in the early parts. But yeah, Lakai's still leading in CS up there. And as you said, sharing experience with 665 as he gets Scuttle. Level 4 on this Nocturne with half an EXP bar to go. Drops a deep ward, no camps up in the top side, but well and truly on the way with the CS lead and having a really good start to this early game.
Yeah, this is a massive EXP lead coming in for 665. He is going to be well underway to hit level 6. And now over in this bottom lane, like this was the other lane we highlighted. Hey, this is a possible lane to try and snowball an attack with this Wukong pick. However, you know, Zeri not exactly known to pack in tons of damage early game, right?
Yeah.
So it might take a lot more effort coming in from Husha's end to have the damage to finish off kills. Either that, or you just need this Sylas to make a roam over into the area. As Alikai, again, we highlighted, not the best laner here.
Well, won't need to be because the flash in from Husha, matched by Lakai. Perfect little setup. Again, I mean, Husha's Wukong, the reason this is his most played is what you're seeing play out on the screen. First blood over to Beyond Gaming, 665 response will be the Drake.
Yeah, and for BYG, perfectly happy with this trade. Not quite to their Wombo power, right? That power spike's going to come once they get their ultimates underway. 665. He has the smite available, so smite for health. Not a problem. Even though it got a little bit scary, but never an issue there.
Close to getting 6 as well, so a couple of camps to go. Has just turned level 5. Feels like the full path up to the top side will get him 6, and then we get to see even more plays happen from Meta Falcon team. Considering that Beyond Gaming are already on the board and have set themselves up with a good Gnar top, Minji's come back into the lane as well. Now level 6 for him too. I'm excited to see what happens around the Herald because Meta Falcon team picking up that dragon, that's going to be the next objective on the menu.
Yeah, and once 665 does hit level 6, I feel like the key lane he's going to target is that top lane. Lee Kai has been caught out a couple of times during the lane phase. So that could be a clear target here with the Sejuani ultimate to further lock down the Gnar to facilitate that Nocturne ultimate gank. Of course, another target could be in that bottom lane, but it's hard to kill Leona, and Wako does have cleanse, so they're going to have to do a little bit more work to try and set up a play down in that bottom lane. But possible gank mid.
Yeah, the cage going to go down. Minji's going to buy his time. Scott Duck held on to 65 just walking in. You're going to find yourself with the ultimate stolen away. Paranoia is there, but Minji not getting the Abscond Abduct. It stops. So Minji now without the hijack. About a minute before we get towards the Herald.
Yeah, and the hijack isn't going to have the largest impact in this particular game because of the ultimates that are available. Right? Yes, you have a little bit of utility with the Rakan. You can pick people off with the Sejuani ultimate, but there's no big damage ultimate that you would usually see that has Wombo potential and also packs a big oomph to it. It's going to be mostly just picking the best utility CC sort of ultimate in each instance, whether or not it's the Nocturne ult or one of these other CC ults.
I feel like with Gnar, Wukong on your team, you take the quickness 9 times out of 10, you just be happy
set up
that
the rest
you've
of
got
the team.
something to layer in, yeah. We've got a bit of a trade in the bottom side. Now, Issue going in, it's going to stop there, but Whale still heading forward, missing the Q. Wako's just hit level 6, but Whale has too. As we look back towards mid, 65 now with the Paranoia, and Minji's hijack about 10 seconds off the cooldown. You can see for Beyond playing very passive right now and knowing that Herald might just have to be given over with bot laners staying put and 665 hovering around the objective.
Yeah, level 6 hit, and again, he wants to play towards more so his top half of the map, but BYG making the collapse over. They have the Mega Gnar. It's about to time out, though. They just need to be a little patient.
Supports are coming up as well. Husha going to take damage, but that Dark Matter goes onto his clone. And as the Kai goes into Mininar, it's a good point to raise because now that all-in has been halted for the time being. Aquino, I'm just waiting to see if he gets level 6 off the end of this wave. As it clears out, no. Nope. So no Solar Flare available. Issue. We're going to see the same thing here if he has the quickness available.
Oh, he's close.
He is close. And yeah, he's just hit up the quickness.
It is? Okay.
Support ult difference is going to mean a big thing as Meta Falcon team moves as a 5-man unit. And Beyond Gaming are split up.
Yeah, they know there's a big difference in power here with the level 6 onto the Rakan. And they're still searching. Lee Kai, of course, reset. He does have Mega Gnar if possible.
Crash. Paranoia. This one's going to be used by Meta Falcon team. It's stunned up as Husha looking for the steal. Cyclone comes out. They're all on him. But the clone doing so much work.
Overdone.
They're going deep for him. 665. Abandoning the rest of his team as Whale is getting taken down by Lakai off the back end. Wako chasing this up as Hong 2. The cage going down is good. The Dark Matter not connecting. The ulti sent through, but Wako, even with the help of minions, won't die to the primordial burst. And even though we get the Herald going down, which I believe was Meta Falcon team, yeah, it was. Yes. Goes to Whale. I mean, they lose so much off the back end of it.
Oh, man. They really tried to pull the trigger to burst out Husha, but it's just too tanky right now. They don't have the burst damage to finish him off right away. We get to see the replay. They are split from the side of BYG, and MFT, they aren't able to collapse onto one side of the play, and just not quite enough damage onto Husha, and because of that, they've just overinvested resources. Right? They've stretched themselves thin. Yeah. Now their backline able to find really any purchase in this fight, and they just kind of because of their formation, they just crumble. So BYG, they come out with a big win here, even though they do drop the objective. It's fine because the extra gold is going to help them out here, and this is a much more stable composition, whereas MFT, they got to get a little bit fancy with how they attack in these team fights, because this is definitely an unconventional composition coming out from them.
Yeah, super different. So at least the Dragon stacking means that for Beyond Gaming, they're going to be in a position where they have to fight. I feel like Meta Falcon team, now that they're 2k gold behind though, we can start talking about the items they're going to be facing up against. Lakai will be close to getting that first item up on the top side. Most likely the Trinity Force, where, you know, we've got Minji close here. Noon Quiver in the bottom lane for Wako, as we're getting a bit of a setup here too. Husha's moving into brush. No vision to spot him out. 665 with the Paranoia on the top side. He's going to go in with the Glacial Prison. Mega Gnar not available as Lakai flashes away, but let's just hold the bot because this is going to be the response from Beyond.
And a little bit mis-executed with that play up top side now.
See, Zenplay going to start it off. Cyclone under turret. Yes, it is. And as they tank up, I mean, Kino getting close, but it's so well done. Beyond make it clean. Wako gets the kills, and there you go. That's clean execution, while Meta Falcon team lose out on the cross-map play.
Yeah, again, like, for MFT, it was a clear target that they would just look for that play up top side, because that is really the only target that they can try and isolate out easily and try and burst down, but they mishandled the CC layering. The permafrost doesn't come out, or it comes out a little bit too fast to chain with the ultimate, as they just tried to one-shot the Gnar, and unfortunately it wasn't possible. And now MFT are in a big hole as they get dove down bot lane, die in the 2v3, and now the Kalista has no legs to hop around with. 0-2-0 doesn't have a mythic completed or behind the curve when comparison to the Zeri, and the scaling is just going to be much better with the Zeri.
Yep. Waka going to deal with the Herald for now, so at least this will help Whale get his first item. Issue has moved back on down, so the gold goes to Whale, who picked up the Herald in the last fight. But for Beyond, I mean, that gold lead is stretched to about 3k, and you can already see Divine Sunder picked up for Husha, who's having a big game on his favorite pick of the split. A lot of teams have walked away from the Wukong priority, but Beyond Gaming, still giving him the benefit, I mean, the light of day. I feel like it's still such a strong pick. And
Yes.
as you're saying, conventional comp, Wukong with an easy setup, and Beyond Gaming have smooth sailing. I guess we wait until we get to the Herald at 145, next Dragon in 2 minutes. Those seem to be the moments where Meta Falcon team will have themselves the first item, and maybe more of a chance to execute on this Paranoia combination that we've been waiting to see in a proper fight.
But the issue is they don't have a good target to jump on besides Wako, right? And the stars do have to align a little bit to actually find the pick onto him, because he is rocking the cleanse.
Yeah.
And he does have shield bow completed. So you have to be able to dive far enough into the back line and layer enough CC that his cleanse isn't good enough to get out of situation, and still also have the damage burst through the shield bow. So there's a lot of conditions I'm trying to line up here for the side of MFT to get the pick onto Zeri, because otherwise, look at the other targets. Like, you have to deal with a Gnar. He's pretty durable, especially if he hits Mega Gnar in time. Then you have Husha, which we already saw. They tried to burst him out, wasn't good enough. And then there's Kino, who is a Leona. Like, you've dumped so many spears and he's only down to half health.
Yeah, at least at half HP, but I mean, Husha coming in after all that's been used. I mean, they just want the first turret to be taken down as Wako keeps poking him down. With the Immortal Shield Bow mentioned, it's so easy at this point. 665 hovering, but for the time being, I mean, as Husha walks away, I don't know, how do you lock her down? That's question number one. Can you kill her? Is question number two. As with Stride Breaker still feeling confident, but Husha has never left. He's on a massive loop.
Oh, Wako's just taking the turret right in front of their faces. And they can't do anything about it. So now it's jungle pressure being asserted by BYG, which also means they have priority around this dragon. That's a lot of vision denial coming in, and MFT are going to be... it's going to be rough trying to get into this dragon. They don't have the gold to also fight the dragon. So, I mean, the best decision for MFT is just to give.
Give it away. Yeah, I mean,
they're going to try their luck.
Because I'm like, wait, are they actually going to contest this? I mean, no one's here yet. Lakai without a Mega Gnar. That's the steal attempt as Husha now to pop the ulti. The Dragon take it for Beyond, but they want to make their way out, or at least bait it for now.
Okay, they find one kill.
The solar flare of gods from Kino. Minji looking for
Wako's
his
on touch
window, and he's found it. Forget Wako on the backside. Look at Minji.
Oh my
Absolutely cleaning house, and that even in the
no
half.
damage.
Wako does the same. 10-1, Beyond style, all for an attempted steal from Meta Falcon team.
And there's just no grounds to play for the side of MFT. They're too far behind. That was an objective. They could have just gone for a steal, but they commit to the full-blown fight. And that's just incorrect all around. We'll see the replay. 665, he jumps in, and it felt like, hey, they're all split. We can try and make the play, right? And they get the pick onto Husha, but once Kino gets here, and once the rest of the front line get there as well, like, where's the damage? Home 2, he hasn't scaled enough on the Veigar quite yet to be able to eat through this front line, and he's very much a burst-focused carry as well, and BYG, they just really just out-tank him. And now this teleport coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Minji's coming in for this flank once again. Steals the Rakan ulti. Look at this quickness.
Great setup.
Everfrost usage is great, but this is what we talked about with Hong 2. The zoning coming out from the event horizon starts it off, but Meta Falcon team want to get out of the fight. Hong is now on the left side with the rest of Meta Falcon team. What the heck's chase to get out, but Beyond are going to take it. Here comes Husha onto 665. Minji behind him will survive with the Kingslayer. The Chain Lash into Golden. Hong wants to kill him, but he can't. This Veigar pick, great in theory, but hasn't worked out for Meta Falcon. Beyond now 7,000, 8,000 gold ahead in this game in the toilet for MFT.
Yeah, and for Home 2, even the Rift is working against him, right? As the Veigar, he wants these really organized front to back sort of play. But Hexgates definitely make that even harder for him to just focus on one side of the play. And BYG, what they are very good at with these set of players is setting up flanks. Lee Kai, Minji, more of these dive-focused champions historically, and in this current game, also operating with champs that can flank very easily. So it's a very difficult situation for Home 2 to deal with, and he doesn't have the team members around him to help facilitate his success either, right? Because the rest of the team want to dive forward. They want to execute the Zeri. It's all about trying to get that one pick onto a priority target, and unfortunately, the only priority target available for MFT is that Zeri pick, which they weren't even able to kill.
No, the Zeri pick they gave away. I feel like another important point is the fact that, you know, in the Dragon fight, what we saw is Hong 2 dropping the cage on one target. You know, when Beyond Gaming set themselves up to go in, that cage is not available. Like, Minji has had such free roam in the past couple of fights because, all right, last time around the Herald, it came out, it did something, but cooldown windows are huge, and Beyond Gaming, as you said, the dive ability goes from one member to the next. Really hard to look at this game as MetaFalcon having anything to say for the rest of it, because at 20 minutes as we tick over, the Herald is going to get close to another charge as it's to 9, but Beyond Gaming with a 9k gold lead, and Baron now available, which for MetaFalcon team is going to be a blessing if they can get anywhere near it or find any pick over the next fight.
They have no range, and right now the map is starting to collapse around them, which is not what you want to see when you have a Nocturne. When your own map control is starting to crash inwards, it makes it very difficult to continue to find picks with this Nocturne, who wants the map to be really spread out. And right now he's setting up, trying to play around Hong 2, make sure that this Veigar can get whatever farm he can get. Has 203 stacks, you know, he can be a big factor in these team fights. Unfortunately, again, like, the composition is not geared to facilitate a Veigar. It's all about facilitating a dive, which is not what Veigar does.
Here we go again. I mean, Hexgates make this so hard for MetaFalcon team to get out the flash from Lakai. He's got Hong, and now Hong 2 is dead as doo-doo. Husha with another Cyclone, and a flash from Kino, already wanting these kills, forcing the summoners out of them once again, and MetaFalcon team can't catch a break. The Baron is now exposed. Jungler might be alive, but a 4v5 for 25 seconds.
Yeah, they should just look for the Baron at this point, but they are a little bit shy to pull the trigger. Instead, they are actually looking for the Dragon, which, you know, you can understand, hey, we want to make sure MFT don't get the third Dragon when we go for the Baron. At the same time, you're playing it perhaps a little overly safe as BYG, because they could just definitely just end the game off of a Baron push. So, you know, perhaps a little bit too shy, a little too gun shy, I should say.
Yeah, maybe after the last game. I mean, to be fair, Beyond Gaming have been the cleanest team we've seen this split, and when we talk a lot about their 1-3-1, we talk about how this team operated, at least in spring. For Beyond Gaming, it definitely feels like they're just kind of dotting the I's, crossing the T's more so than usual. Getting mid-push now, they're moving towards Baron, having taken Dragon off the board, off the force from MetaFalcon to potentially get the Soul. Now that that's gone, you can see Beyond are trying to bait out and clear vision, while setting themselves up for this objective that, as you said, would make the push absolutely devastating.
And now the next issue is just, how does MFT actually get into the river area to contest these objectives? Because there's just so much control asserted by the Zeri W, and just the fact that you can go ahead, use Mega Gnar, you're stuck in these choke points. You can use the Wukong ultimate. if you're sucking these choke points. It's so easy to land so much of the CC available from the side of BYG. And that...
What's Kino
I feel
doing?
like you...
I mean, against Rakan, it's going to be hard. Kino was... I mean, he was standing there. He was scouted out before. He didn't move. He stood in the same position. And they're trying to lens thinking, like, why aren't they coming to Baron? It's because Kino was standing there. So, I don't know. For a winning team, that's kind of frustrating.
Just start it.
They're trying to bait it out,
God.
but, like... I mean... Like, okay, this time.
God.
Okay, this time. Ward. Hoosh is there. Okay, Beyond. Now, from this point, you go and bait the Baron. Go and start the Baron, then turn. Okay, Ward's gone. Go and start the Baron. Let's go and start the Baron. Let's go and start the Baron. Beyond. I mean, they're calling it every time. We've been
they have a ward in the back of the pit. Their blue trinket isn't actually getting turned off by the control ward. Right? This is a big drop of the ball. Yes, they're getting all this jungle. But BYG are offering MFT an olive branch that shouldn't really be offered right now. Yes, they are still 8k gold ahead, Hysterics, but
that ward is being cancelled, by the way, on the back of the pit. That's still, you can see the lightning, you know, the red lightning when control wards stop any wards. Okay. So only just, but I mean, further to your point, like Meta Falcon team called the bluff because they saw Leona during the whole time. That was 2 minutes wasted for BYG, and look, the game's not going anywhere, but you know, just kind of
you're still giving time to a Veigar, right?
Yeah.
And now Veigar has a third item. He has the Zanya's Hourglass along with the Archangels, which isn't exactly the best power spike, but it is a power spike. And for him to be on item parity with a 406 Silas definitely says something, as now it looks like for the side of MFT, they might be looking to trade objectives here. I mean, there's still a minute difference.
Maybe just start the Baron. I mean,
maybe just start the Baron,
dude.
Please.
Okay, finally. I mean, Beyond Gaming, like, Jesus. I know you're trying to bait it out.
Now they're spotted, but they have everything controlled. This is no problem. These guys doesn't have Mega. That's the only issue.
They're worried, obviously, about the knockdown. But now that
this is free.
Now, finally, it works out as they all jump in on top of this mid laner. You can see Wako's untouched in the backside. Good cleanse on the Hong too. And we finally get what we've been waiting for. The Baron bait's there. The flash here from Wako. He has everyone
just tanking tower.
Range. Oh my god, we waited so long, but at least Beyond finally did what they were setting up for about 5 minutes ago.
Hey, you know, you can't fault the team for playing to their win conditions. It might be slightly delayed, maybe overly delayed. They check all the check boxes. Hysterics.
About 10 times. You know, 10 different times. And that's fair, right? Like, I feel like when you're going up against Nocturne, Rakan, Sedge, you're like, okay, their ability to lock down and steal, you know, is a threat. But starting the Baron, then moving away, was always
at a certain point. We gotta figure it out and just go for the flex. Nothing moves until we start the Baron, and finally they start the Baron and force MFT to action, and that's where their opportunity comes from, right? At long last, they actually get to pull the fight, and they're just, again, this composition doesn't facilitate backline carries to find success, and they missed their timing window to get this Kalista going. And you can see when Kalista's behind, she doesn't have the oomph to punch through champions like a Silas, like a Wukong, and like a Nar.
You know, hasn't been able to do much this game at all. Like, Beyond Gaming have 19 kills versus 2 of Meta Falcon team. The gold lead is 13,000. And Beyond still, I mean, a 13k gold lead with no inhib turrets, by the way. It's just an astounding game with how much they've taken away. But I guess, yeah, being critical of Beyond right now because this game's still going. It looks clinical from here on, but I'm kind of wondering how they close it out. It's going to tell us a lot about what form Beyond are in because of how much we're questioning them, you know, considering their last couple of losses. Right now, struggling to push into the base. The one thing you can say about MFT is at least there's some kind of wave clear here with this Vega, and, you know, he does have a bit of range to play with himself.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the rest of the squad don't have that same range, so they need to look to try and find a pick, split this fight.
Cleanse again, this time, sorry, QSS as they go for the all-in, double paranoia. As look, there's no Nara in the fight, and AoE's given over to Hong too. The Fate's called a save issue. Lakai jumps on in, and there's no wave. I mean, Beyond Gaming are low. I don't know if you can keep sieging.
Next wave is coming in, though. And they are getting some health bars back over on the side of MFT, but they don't have the ultimate econ to force this fight.
Well, Hongtu backed away. I mean, surprise. At least inhibitors go down.
Wait, there you go. The Wukong's out here.
I went all in. And yeah, with no Wukong, I mean, he wants to come back in. There's the ult shock again, and Wako is in the middle without a cleanse, so has to play it safe. Gets the jungler. 665 just walks up to a Zeri. This game is interesting, and with a double kill going over, it's going to be over soon. Beyond, I thought they were going to stop there, but never mind. Beyond have all 5 members. They might be low, but the damage is now out of the equation. A 30-minute win, however slow it may have been, is still a win for Beyond to put them back to the top.
Beyond Gaming, they clear any problems that MFT might have brought to the table. And this was always going to be a difficult draft to execute over on the side of MFT, right? Because they have a Kalista lane with a scaling support in Rakan who doesn't have a whole lot of lane pressure, and that's not what you want when it comes to having a Kalista support. And then they also have a bit of a curveball in the Nocturne, which unfortunately just didn't have a lane to really play around. So all across the board, it was a bit of a disjointed composition crafted by MFT, and Beyond Gaming, while it was perhaps a little bit too slow and methodical for our tastes, it was still a very clinical win without a lot of fumbles coming in from their end.
Yeah, like dotting the I's, crossing the T's, dotting the J's, dotting, you know, the French A's. Make sure, like, go through everything, go through every letter and make sure.
Exactly.
It's, yeah, methodical, yeah, somewhat. I mean, lacking a bit of confidence, but also you can see with Nocturne still paying the respect to 665. But just a funny way for that game to end where, you know, finally we get to the Baron. Finally there's a turn from BYG. And, you know, actually starting the Baron and threatening. It's like, okay, Beyond are doing it, then we have to walk in. Just don't know why they didn't do it earlier. I don't know. I'm asking a lot of questions. It's still a win. It doesn't matter. BYG, you know, it still raised some kind of concerns, but at least they stopped the loss streak that they built up against J-Team and DCG. But I still wonder where this team sits because, you know, Meta Falcon team in that game, as you said, the draft was, you know, a little bit different and it was hard to pilot. I feel like BYG were given a bit of a silver platter in that game, considering that all they had to do was play out the lanes. And if the lanes went even or even not that far behind, things were okay.
Yeah, there wasn't that hard of a win condition outlined for MFT. They have really all the strong champions on the patch, right? So it was just all about, hey, make sure we don't get dumpstered in lane, make sure we don't get picked off by the Nocturne ultimate. And after a certain point, it almost becomes foolproof for them, right? They get onto the objectives first because MFT, they can't even force their way in. They don't have a way to face check bushes very easily, although Issue certainly gave a good go of it, right? With how much frustration Beyond Gaming were trying to lock him down around that Baron area. But all in all, Kalista from behind is not the move. And then we have a Veigar that you don't have any pieces to help keep them safe, that's also not the move.
It's not. Yeah, I don't know. Like the tools, right? The tools that were there, the logic solid, but for Meta Falcon team, no one's really safe. Even though Jewish team and Sem9 have both lost today, no one's really safe when we look at them picking up their first win of the split, and Meta Falcon team and Impunity still sit at 3. So yeah, definitely not out of the woods. Yeah, Falcon team do have some hard matchups coming up with CFO. A Jewish team will be on the lineup, but then it's J team, DCG. Like, they have to go through the Titans again as they get to their second last week in the split.
Yeah, and only one loss when you are that 3-win team going up against one of those 1-win teams. If you drop a game against one of them, all of a sudden it's just 3 wins to 2. Right? The gap just instantly closes very quickly. So for MFT and Impunity, they need to be able to get wins where they can. Otherwise, those 7 and 8 seed slots are very much in jeopardy.
Yeah, true. You're not you're not safe. Yeah, damage numbers are there, right? Like, let's be real. Zeri did a lot. They gave open that pick. That was the crazy thing. They gave open Zeri, Nah, Silas, Wukong. Yet no one gets this comp.
That's like Exodia.
Yeah. It's only missing like Renata, right? But
yeah,
or
that was banned.
Came up to Kalista Renata, yeah. So it's one pick off of being pitch perfect. I don't know. I got a lot to say about this one because I just feel like from the draft it was just perplexing to see so many things given away that are first pick or ban in a lot of other regions too. And as we go to MVP, let's be real. Minji, Wako, yeah, it's going to be Wako. On the Zeri here, 92% kill participation. I mean, perfect in these fights. Deathless as well.
And it's just the pick, right? This is why Zeri is OP. If you can't burst her out and lock her down and kill her in just like half a second, she'll just run circles around you. And unfortunately, they weren't even able to get close to this Zeri, even with a Nocturne and a Sejuani too far behind to set up those flanks that can pick off a Zeri, and Wako just runs wild.
Well, Wako, I think, still the person we talk about quite a lot on Beyond Gaming. We mentioned solo lanes, like Hooch is having a good split. It always comes back to Wako and Kino, and this bottom lane seems to be pushing them ahead as well. For Beyond, it's going to be a fun story to kind of watch this team play out, especially with the form of Husha and the form of Wako as we just saw. But that's Beyond done and dusted. We don't have to talk about him anymore. We don't have to look at that game anymore, Nightstar. Instead, we get to go towards the last game of the night of CFO and Impunity with heads held high, because Impunity are looking to break that 3-loss streak. CFO are on a win streak themselves. Like, I don't know what you say here. I don't know what you say. It should be a really good game to finish
Find out
off,
after the break.
That's right. We will after this.